Welcome to Warhammer 40k lore in the Bible, where I pull from Warhammer 40k lore to help explain biblical lore. And today I'm going to be reacting to Life as a Tyranid by Game.mp4. I also do a lore series every Monday, and then every Tuesday would be the short version of that. That's more of a narrative experience, which I just did the Alpha Legion. If you want to check that out, that'll be on the watch page. Anyways, I also do react videos like this one. So let's get this started here. Alright, so before we get this started, I always read a little verse. Revelation 9:7-11. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle. That's going to come into play here, these horses. And on their heads was as it were like crowns of gold, and their faces like faces of men. And that they had hair as a hair of a woman, and their teeth was the teeth of lions. These are actual entities, folks. These aren't helicopters or whatever else that's been said. These are actual entities, and these come from the Genesis 6 scenario, and we'll get all into this. But anyways, let's get this started.
You do not wake up. Waking implies you had the luxury of sleep, of dreams, of a self. You don't have that. You are designed. A violent spark of bioelectrical instinct surges through wet meat and chitin, and that's your first moment. No mother,
Yay.
no father. Only the Norn Queen. A colossal brood organism pulsing in the dark, birthing you with all the tenderness of a factory venting smoke. Then,
Where's Ripley when you need her, man? She never shows up. And that fourth movie sucked, but anyways.
before your eyes even form, something way up in the hierarchy presses down on your mind. The hive mind. It doesn't speak. It imposes. It commands. Hunger floods your nerves. Not yours, never yours, but you feel it all the same. Without delay, the Norn Queen's tendrils release you into the greater body of the hive ship, where the walls pulse like the
Don't those look like fish eggs, kinda? Anyways, sorry.
inside of a colossal throat. You're floating. Not in water, not in air,
Little
in a
spermy
warm,
lurmy.
viscous, nutrient pool pulsing inside the bowels of a living ship. Bones line the walls like cathedral supports made of corpses. Veins thicker than starship hulls pump biomass around you. You don't question it. You're a Tyranid. Questioning is a defect, and defects are
Yeah, because it's 1984 and you're eating Soylent Green.
recycled. Think of this as orientation, but instead of handbook, you get existential dread and mandatory clause. A spike of
Yay.
command hits your nervous system like a spear to the brain. No voice, no words, just directive. Form. You thrash and push through the fluid, your claws scraping against hardened flesh. Teeth erupt from your skull before your mind fully understands chewing. Limbs stretch, crack, fuse, strengthen. You feel your exoskeleton harden like cooling iron. Your body isn't something you own. It's something you were issued. Above you, the hive mind pulses. You can't see it, but you feel it, like a constant pressure pushing your thoughts down a funnel until all that remains is consume, kill, adapt, repeat, for the hive. If you had free will, this would be horrifying. Luckily, you don't. You drag yourself from the birthing pool. Other creatures like you are emerging too, slick and snarling, their minds just as empty and obedient. Some are gaunts, small and fast with scything talons. Some are rippers.
Okay, by the way, if I'm looking down or whatever, I'm trying to find a verse, whatever. So I'm not disrespecting the guy or anything like that. But anyways, I want to bring this up. So this is kind of like in the demonic kingdom, right? They have a hive mind mentality that you're going to see here. So this is Mark 5, Mark 5, verse 9. And he asked him, what is thy name? Jesus talking to these demons, right? He answered and saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. So there you go. That's this hive mind mentality that these locusts will have that we see in Revelation. They also show up, at least I believe, in Joel 2, and we'll get into that. So, very interesting stuff.
Nothing but worms with jaws born to crawl and devour whatever the gaunts leave behind. You don't look at them as siblings. There's no family here. Only biomass inventory. This is team building, Tyranid style. No trust falls, just actual falls into the digestive pools.
Well, at least it ain't 3D printed meat in that can. like we have nowadays. Yum.
You feel something towering approach. Your gaze is forced upward by instinct. A Tyranid warrior. Taller than a space marine, its head crowned with armored ridges, synaptic nodes glowing faintly under its flesh. It doesn't speak. Instead, its presence forces your thoughts into alignment, like iron fillings snapping toward a magnet. That's when you understand hierarchy. Those closer to the hive mind control those further from it. You are very down. Think middle management, except middle management can telepathically make you walk into a machine gun nest, and you'll thank them for the opportunity. You suddenly receive a pulse of information. It's an injection of purpose directly into your neurons. The Hive Fleet is approaching a world.
You know, I'm a little mad that I haven't heard of this guy until now. It seems pretty good so far.
Mass levels are high, the prey species are armed. Everyone on the Hive ship is preparing, and you find out it's to invade Ultramar. It's McCrack, the first Tyrannic War and Hive Fleet behemoth's debut stage. You're deployed to overwhelm and digest whatever the Hive wills. Planets aren't locations for Tyranids, they're meals with weather. You march through organic tunnels, the walls throbbing with life. Capillary towers pump fluids,
That's a cool
while
one.
digestive pools bubble with dissolved remains of previous conquests. A monstrous silhouette looms in the distance. A Carnifex, a living battering ram of muscle and spines, snorts clouds of acidic vapor as feeder tendrils writhe around its jaws. It pushes past you, its massive bulk shaking the fleshy ground. It doesn't acknowledge you.
And you get introduced to that in Space Marine 2 on the 2nd difficulty level. Anyways,
Doesn't need
I'm sure you guys know that.
If you get in its way, you'll be crushed underfoot, and your biomass will be put to better use in something less pathetic. Near the exit of the launch chamber lies a synapse creature, brain tendrils pulsing like exposed nerves. That's a zoanthrope. Its head swollen with psychic might drifts like a jellyfish. The air around it crackles. Even the warrior bows its head slightly as it passes.
Those get very irritating, man. Once you get higher up in the difficulty, I don't even want to think about it right now.
Zoanthrope doesn't simply receive commands
And my computer ain't the best. So when these guys are going off, I get a lot of lag, man. Anyways.
from the hive mind. It is the command. Upper management has literally evolved beyond needing a body,
Yes, boss,
and
yeah.
Tyranids must obey them because not obeying is not an option. Rebellion would require individuality.
What a great game,
Individuality
though,
is a
by the
mutation.
way. Mass
Mutations
Effect.
are fed to the digestion pool as the employee handbook is 1 page long. Don't resist. You eventually reach the drop spine. It opens like a gaping wound in the ship's exterior wall. They call it a mycetic spore drop, a polite term coined by terrified humans trying to classify horror. In truth, it's an infection. Living meteors of flesh and chitin tear through the sky, each one a hollow growth pod packed with organisms like you. They're hurled at a planet the same way a disease is hurled at a body. Think of it as business travel, except the flight is a screaming meat pod and your destination is someone else's apocalypse. Impact. The pod slams into the planet's surface with bone-cracking force. The walls split apart, flesh tearing open like a wound that once
Funny thing is apocalypse just means the revealing. Anyways.
to bleed enemies. You surge forward, your senses explode, air, dry and alien, smell filled with prey pheromones, sound, gunfire, and screaming. Your mind doesn't label these. It categorizes them simply as biomass and resistance. A line of Imperial Guardsmen is firing at you. Laser bolts streak through the air, carving holes in your swarm mates. You watch one Gon's head explode. The hive mind notes its death, recalculates biomass ratios, and moves on. Efficiency. You sprint. Your muscles were grown for this moment. You're a perfect tool, not in beauty or grace, but in function. Your claws find flesh. The guardsman screams as you tear through armor and bone. Around you.
Alright. So let's finish up this revelation thing here. So they had hair as the hair of a woman, and their teeth was as the teeth of lions. They had breastplates, and as it were breastplates of iron, like that chitin, like on a Tyranid, right? And the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. Now, this is where people will say, well, these are helicopters and stuff. No, these are actual entities. Okay? And they had tails like unto scorpions. And there were stings in their tails. And their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon. This is that Assyrian character, right? The destroyer. that I've talked about in many of them. And we'll get into it once we get into Abaddon, the Despoiler, and stuff like that. But anyways, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon, or Apollo. Okay. And then after that, we'll get into Joel 2, which is talking about these guys as well, and it elaborates on what's going on. But anyways.
The swarm advances like an ocean of blades. Behind you, rippers flood from ruptured hives like a carpet of gnashing mouths, consuming every chunk left behind. A man crawls away, missing both legs, begging the Emperor for mercy. The rippers reach him. The begging stops. The cleanup crew is efficient. You'd be proud if pride were in your emotional toolbox. But it's not. The hive mind takes note of resistance levels. You feel its attention as a result. Some of you will evolve, some of you won't survive long enough to be considered worthy for evolution. You see a lictor drops from above, its camouflage skin shimmering as it impales an officer through the spine. The hive mind acknowledges its performance. Adaptation. Efficient. What about you? You are not special. As a Gaunt, you're an expendable bullet made in service of the hive. Around you, more pods crash into the ground, vomiting forth new organisms. A bivore, bloated and pulsating, lumbers forward and launches living spores from its back. Each spore is a screaming sack of acid and instinct, arcing through the sky before bursting into the ranks of fleeing guardsmen. Limbs and armor fly as a result. The hive mind doesn't celebrate. Celebration is a waste of neural function. Above, the sky tears open with a psychic scream. A shadow in the warp descends, smothering all other psychic signals like a wet blanket over a dying fire. Human psychers clutch their heads, blood running from their eyes, their connection to the warp frays like snapped wire. They can no longer send distress calls, channel psychic powers, or even warn their commanders. All that remains in the psychic channels is terror. Some try to scream warnings, but only manage wet gurgles before their brains cook inside their skulls. To you, it feels like static. The zoanthropes amplify the shadow, and the hive mind's thoughts become even more absolute. You push forward through trenches, ripping through sandbags and flesh alike. An ultramarine trooper empties his bolt gun into a Tyranid Termagant's chest. Bolts of red, hot light carve through its rib plating. It collapses, ichor pouring from the wound. The sergeant breathes out.
I'm sorry. Delete my search history. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Gotta love it. And a lot of YouTubers have been exposed for their search history.
Out in relief, as if he accomplished something meaningful. Then you leap at lightning speed. The human stares in horror as you descend. He drops his gun and runs. He shouldn't have done that. Running implies escape. There is no escape. You tear him apart. Your claws keep moving long after his body stops reacting, reducing him to indistinguishable chunks so the rippers don't have to sort through organs. Efficiency. The hive mind appreciates efficiency. Far across the field, a towering form descends with a thunderous crack. A hive tyrant. If the zoanthrope is a brain node, the hive tyrant is a general.
To be honest, that hive tyrant can be like this Abaddon character, right? It says they have a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit. Which he ain't the toppest dog, right? But he is up there. And he's like second in command up there with Satan. So, but anyways, I digress.
Carved from nightmares. Wings spread, dripping with alien fluid, its bone swords hum with psychic energy. Soldiers fire everything they have at it. He keeps walking, they break formation. The hive tyrant doesn't pursue them. Instead, it stops, looks at the battlefield, issues a command that hits your brain like a hammer. Yay. Advance, no retreat, no survivors. Your limbs move before you process the thought. You don't have morale, you have momentum. All of a sudden, the hive tyrant takes a las cannon to the skull. For 3 seconds, the synaptic link flickers. Your thoughts scatter like dropped silverware. Gaunts around you stop mid-charge, twitching, confused. Some sprint forward.
And to think that somewhere in the Imperium, everybody's fighting something. The Tyranids, the Orcs, Eldar, the Tau, or whatever, man. Whew. It's a good thing the Imperium has billions upon billions upon billions of people. So, but anyways.
Forward and attack nothing. Some flee in random directions. A few just start digging straight down like the planet insulted them. One begins eating a rock. In his mind, this is greatness. Then a warrior reestablishes the link, and you snap back into formation. Crisis averted. Barely.
Discord is like a hive mind. That is very much true. Discord is very much a hive mind.
Without warning, the planet started shaking. In the distance, a Titan-class bioform awakened.
They all have
the
the
ground.
same opinions,
A
it seems
hydrogen.
like.
All claws and living artillery erupts from the soil like a demon crawling from hell. Imperial tanks swivel to face it. The hydrojewel roars, a sound like a starship engine being tortured and charges. Gunfire bounces off its armor as it plows through tanks like children's toys. You're a grain of sand in the storm, but even grains of sand can drown a world if there are enough of them. The hive mind.
Okay. So real quick. So starting verse 3. A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them is a desolate wilderness. Yea, nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses. So here we go. And as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire in that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. So these are people, not helicopters. Okay. So before their face the people shall be much pained. All faces shall gather blackness. We've talked about this this corruption, I'm not saying that it is, but it could be this darkness overcoming, because we see here, verse 2, this is the day of the Lord, right? The day of judgment. A day of darkness and of gloominess. A day of clouds and thick darkness. As the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. Or a great people and a strong. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall be any more after it, even to the years of many generations. So very interesting. But we'll finish that here in a little bit.
Attention sharpens. New data. Heavy mass signatures, high-density ceramide, gland-enhanced biomass. Threat recalibration, severe. Synaptic pulses ripple through the swarm. Priority targets identified. Then you see them. Ahead, armored giants enter the field. Space Marines. Angels of death. Demigods of war.
Are they
the hive mind
angels?
classifies them instantly. Premium biomass, extreme resistance, acceptable loss ratio 20 to 1. Translation, 20 of you to kill.
That eyeball reminds me of those, what are those in D&D? Oh my goodness, I should know that. It's not coming to me right now, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways.
Kill one of them. The math is acceptable. You are included in the 20. A Marine in blue armor raises a chainsword, roaring a battle cry. For the Emperor!
For
He
the
cuts
Emperor!
down 2 gaunts in a single swing, blasts another apart with his bolter. You
Get
leap,
you
so
some.
do others. A tide of claws overwhelms him. He swings, roars, and fights like a hero and a legend. He dies like all biomass.
He dies like a
Luckily,
legend.
you barely escape death. A Tervagon lumbers forward behind you, a swollen monstrosity birthing fresh Termagons from the sacs in its abdomen. Each new creature hits the ground running, screeching with newborn hunger. Artillery shells from space blast the ground. Imperial Valkyrie gunships scream across the sky, ferrying guardsmen to a war they have already lost. Orbital defense lasers from the Imperial fleet also sear the landscape, carving trenches of molten dirt in blind desperation. The ground beneath your claws is already changing. Capillary towers erupt from the soil, sucking moisture and minerals into the sky. Spore chimneys belch toxic atmosphere. The planet's being rewritten at the molecular level. Less invasion, more hostile takeover with extreme renovations. The Tyranids don't scatter, they don't flee. Those who die add to the biological tally. Those who live push forward. Either outcome is acceptable.
That's when you exterminatus that some gun.
Out of nowhere, a guardsman detonates a plasma grenade near your feet. The explosion tears your legs off. You fall. For a moment, your vision flickers. The hive mind brushes against your fading neurons like a passing current. It doesn't soothe you, doesn't reassure you. It simply weighs your utility. Decision reclaimed. Rippers pour over your broken form like piranhas made of fangs and hatred. They dig into your flesh. You don't scream. Screaming is a waste of biomass. You feel your own body being eaten piece by piece.
Yummy.
It's all for the hive, nothing personal. You look up at the sky. The hive ship looms above, vast and grotesque, sucking atmosphere and life into its capillary towers. Your heart stops. Darkness doesn't follow. There's no darkness. There's only processing. Your biomass travels through the digestion pulse and is broken down into raw genetic slurry. Screaming faces dissolve in acid, armor melts, bones crack. Everything becomes one single ocean of genetic potential. You're no longer you're useful material. Deep inside the hive ship, new forms begin to grow. Your essence flows into the birthing pools, a new creature begins to take shape. Maybe another gaunt, something with more claws, or something with a gun that has teeth. If your genetic pattern impresses the hive mind, it may reuse your traits. If not, you'll be fuel for something better. It's like performance-based reincarnation, except there's no karma but digestive enzymes. In the nutrient baths, a shape stirs. You do not wake up, you ignite again. And the cycle continues. Forever. Because the hive fleet doesn't stop, it doesn't negotiate, it doesn't rest. It just consumes. World after world, system after system.
Alright.
You'll be born 1,000 times, die 1,000 times. Each time, you'll think it's the first.
We're going to finish this off here real quick. Okay. So verse 7. Or Joel 2, verse 7. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb the wall like men of war. And they shall march every one on his ways. And they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another. They shall walk every one in his path. And when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. Very interesting. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. And they shall climb upon the houses. They shall enter the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army. For his camp is very great. For he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great, and very terrible. Who can abide it? So, got these locusts coming out of the abyss, right? The bottomless pit. And we know, Genesis 6, right? The angels came down, mated with women, all that stuff. But in Jasher, we see in chapter 4, verse 18, we see that men are now making hybrids, right? That they're crossbreeding one species with the other. And I'm sure the angels were doing that as well, to an even greater extent. So, and then we know they became the demons, right? These Nephilim spirits became the demons in First Enoch. So, very interesting. But anyways, guys, we're going to wind it down here. I want to thank everybody who liked the video. If you disliked the video, thank you for at least giving me a chance. Also, I'm going to promote my memberships. You'll have access to the Discord. And soon, once I figure out what I'm going to do, I'm going to make some kind of videos for you guys. You know, I'm not going to gate content, but it'll be something extra for you guys to get your money's worth. But it's just $5. That's it. I'm not going to do the tiers or anything like that. Maybe later, but right now I think $5 is enough. You know what I mean? And if you guys do that, I appreciate you guys, and you'll be helping out the channel a lot. You guys have a wonderful day.